Right. Good morning, pilot teachers and students. Good morning, class. Right. Thank you. You may sit down. All right. In our last lesson, I mentioned that in today's lesson, we will start off with a new unit, and that is on force and pressure. And the first topic that we will study is force. Now, before we go to that, may I ask you a question? What is force? Michael. Okay. Okay, you said to answer the question. You can give your explanation of a force. Okay, Rachel, you help him. Force is energy. Okay, any more explanation of a force? Correct. Force is a form of energy. That is what Garrett is saying. Okay, Mary, what is your explanation of a force? Okay, pass this over to. Force is the ability to move things. All right, you are almost correct. Now, force is, for example, if I have to push somebody over, what does that mean? Okay, I'm applying energy and then I'm making him, okay, fall over. So we can simply explain force as, okay, a force is a push or a pull. And then if you have to look at that force, a force can be explained as something which can change the shape of the motion, or it can change the shape of that object. So quickly go through and write down this definition, and after this I will go through explaining the effects of these forces. Okay, finished? All right, we will now go on to the effects of these forces. Right, firstly, having a look at the effects of the force. Right, the first one is that force can simply start the object moving or either stopping this object from moving. Okay, that is one of the effects of the forces. Right, secondly, we have to look at the effect of forces. It can make objects to speed up or slow down, right? Especially when an object is going through motion, forces can cause it to move faster or slowly, or even stopping them from moving. And thirdly, right, these forces can cause the object to change the direction of the motion. A force can cause an object to change the direction of this, let's say, its motion. And fourthly, it can change the shape of an object by stretching. For example, if you have to use a coil spring, or if it is a rubber band that you are trying to use, or let's say if it is a can that you are trying to squash, right? A force can simply change the shape in that ways. Okay, stretching, compressing, bending, or twisting. And finally, we have to look at the last one. A force can keep the object stationary by balancing other forces. So for example, if you're trying to, on a seesaw, let's say, right, one person is sitting on the other side and then you have another one, you will find that the balance will be the same. Unless one is more heavier, that means his force is more. So the lighter one will be up on the other end. So that is how you can balance forces. All right, looking at some of the examples of these forces, right, these examples will be also used, let's say, used in our next lesson to classify into contact and also the field forces, right? That is when we come to our next lesson. Anyway, looking at some of the examples of forces, you'll find that, okay, the first one is weight of force, or weight or the force of gravity. And second one is the resistance, such as the friction or water, okay, on water, or it can be on air or other surface. And you find a tension force as in ropes or in surface tension on water. For example, if you are trying to stretch a rope, you'll find that there is no elasticity in the rope. So those are cohesion between the particles that make up the rope. So that is a tension force. And then finally, the contact forces, okay, not finally, but this, okay, the fourth one, which is the contact force as in bulldozer, which is pushing gravel, and then magnetic force between compass and Earth's field. Right, every time you place a compass, you'll find that it will always point towards the north. That is why, okay, that is one example of a force. And then you will, the next one, which is the expansion force of a spring by which it retains its shape. Now in here, I have a spring here. Right, you will find that there is an expansion force on this. I'm stretching this, but if I have to let it go, right, it comes back to its original size. Okay. And the turning forces or the moment with a screwdriver or the spanner, especially if you are trying to undo a bolt from a part, right, you will use a spanner to do that. Okay, those are the moments, or it can be from a screwdriver if you're trying to undo a screw. And finally, okay, the second last, which is the upthrust force on a floating object, right? Especially the amount of liquid that is displaced is equal to the weight that is immersed in liquid. So that is simply the upthrust. And electrical force between charged particles. So those are some examples of forces. Right. What I'd like you to do now is to quickly go through, right, finish the effects of these forces. And then I will ask you to discuss it in groups, Okay, probably go into groups of 3 and then you can discuss the effects of these forces. After that, I will ask each one of you to come up and then demonstrate using these equipments on how you can solve the effects of these forces. Okay, so quickly have this one, right? Not this one. This example of forces will be given or put in the next lesson, so you have all the time to copy this one. Not this, you copy this one, okay? All right, after you finish copying, 3 of you go into groups, discuss the effects of those forces, how you can demonstrate. You 3 will discuss together. And you, okay, this row will discuss those effects, and you discuss together, 4 of you, okay? You make group discussion on those effects of motion. All right, quickly go into groups and then you can discuss the effects of those forces. And then you may select a member of your group to demonstrate. Or if you want, you can come up together, demonstrate that one of you can explain, and then you all go back to your you will use those equipments up there to explain the effects of the forces. Okay, choose which one of those you can use.
We have to choose one of them. Give one out to each group, so we'll know what to explain. So which one are we explaining?
Okay, I'll all right, we will make it this way. If you're coming up for the explanation, probably we'll have two groups from this side and three from this side. So before that, I will choose which one of those or which activity, or let's say the effects of forces you're going to come up and then explain. All right, hands up if you want to do the first one. Okay, effects of forces. Which group would like to do the first one? Okay, group one. This one will do the first. All right, for number two, make objects speed up or slow down. Which group would like to? Okay, your group. Isaac, your group will do the second one. Third one, cause object to change the direction of the motion. Okay, Sulaiman. Fourth one will be changing the shape of an object by stretching, compressing, twisting. Okay, we'll have the Joseph's group. And number one, keep the object stationary by balancing other forces. Okay, the last one. Okay, you would like to do the last one. Okay, you go for the last one. Last. Okay, finish your discussion, or you still need some time? Finish. That's compressing. Yeah, compressing is like you're pressing it up, or something has to change the shape. Okay, changing shape. From the first one you saw that. Yeah, you're compressing it. Who? You? Who? Which group? You want to do that? Okay, did I give you? No, okay. You willing to go out for this one? Yeah. Karen, you're still going to discuss, and are you willing to take that last one? Are you willing to go out and demonstrate that last one? Keep the object stationary by balancing.
Demonstrate.
Yes or no? Okay, you're the group. Okay, you take that last one. Your group. Okay. All right. Discussion is up. We will now go through the demonstration of these activities now. All right. Pilot students, please watch carefully as these model students will come up using these equipments to demonstrate the effects of the forces. Okay, group number 1 can come out for the first one, how this object or the starts object moving or stopping them. Okay, group number 1.
Number 1, start the object moving force, stop them. When you apply force on one side, the object moves. Okay? If you apply the same force on both sides, the object stays the same. Stays the same.
Okay, that is for number 1. They're making use of those cards to show the movement or how the object can stop the motion. Okay, you can apply force one and then the object moves, right, for example. But then there is another force which may stop this object from moving. Okay, good, very good. Your explanation is also correct. Okay, we'll have the next one. Okay, next group. All right, that one you can make use of the inclined plane as well. This one too, if you want to.
When let's say that a car is traveling, this represents a car and it's traveling at its normal speed or something. So when force is applied, it's like it's an acceleration and makes the car move faster. And if on the other side, when force is applied again, it makes the car
Okay, good. Using the same card, you can explain whether the force applied is quite, okay, let's say the magnitude or the size of the force is large or small. So depending on that, the object will either speed up or slow down, okay, using this. But otherwise, if you have to look at this one, right, I have what is known as an inclined plane. Right, can we have somebody to come up here and okay. Anyway, using this one we can demonstrate the forces. For example, you'll find that when an object is sliding down this inclined plane, it depends on the steepness of the plane. Right? If it is more steeper, what will happen to the frictional force on the surface of this one? So it will be less. But if it is going downwards, it will be more. So having a look at this one, as I'm going through, you'll find that it is now moving down. Okay. Sometimes because the frictional force is more, right, you can. If the frictional force is more, you'll find that the object, if I'm pushing this one, it will not move at all. So forces can either increase the speed of this object or slow them down. Right, good. That is for the third one. We will go for the fourth one, and that is to cause object to change the direction of the motion.
The third effect of force says causes objects to change the direction of motion. So we will demonstrate what that means. Sulaiman is going to push that ball with a force, and when Maima hits it, it changes direction from going straight towards the side. And that's how force helps to change the direction of motion of certain objects.
All right, good. This one shows how an object can change the direction of the motion, or how force can change, right? Simply when you roll this one, okay, it goes back. Or even if you decide to use these two, okay, somebody to push that one from the other end. Okay, push. Okay. This one shows you that forces now change the direction of that right motion. Right, very good. We'll go on to the fifth one. Right, the fourth one. Okay, fourth one.
Can see no force is being applied to the can, so the shape of the can remains the same. But when Joseph applies force by compressing it, the shape of the can changes.
In here, force is described as push or pull on something. This is a pull, and it's stretching, so the there's a change in the shape of the rubber band.
Okay. Especially we have to find the first one, right? The structure or the shape of this one has changed. Why? Because force was applied to compress. Okay, this is compression. But especially when you look at the rubber band that was used, okay, this is simply stretching that, and also using this, all right, the spring. Okay, you can like, right, if you are trying to bend or twist, right, don't mind if I have to break your ruler. Okay, if you have to bend this one, right, simply applying force. Okay, now moving on to the last one. Okay, effects of that force, how the force can keep the object stationary by balancing other forces. Okay.
As you can see, if the as you can see, if the force on both ends is equal, it will keep the object on top of it stationary. But if the force on the other end is more than this end, the object will move.
All right, good. The demonstration is using a duster and this one, right? If I have to balance the forces, it's stationary. But if I have to balance that, you'll find that okay, this one will fall off. Or otherwise, if you have to use right, this method, simply right, okay, it falls off. But if you have to balance this one, okay, you find that these two are same. Otherwise, if you have to take this one, right, it falls off. So those are the effects of forces that, as we go through, you will understand and know better what a force is. Now, I can quickly go through the summary. To recap this, right, a force can start or slow down the object that are moving. Right, it can also make this moving object to either speed up or slow down. And it can cause this object to also change the direction of the motion. And changing the shape of this, right, the demonstration has been done, and pilot students, you should have seen some of those demonstrations. Right, it can change the shape of object by stretching, compression, or compressing, or bending, or twisting. And finally, it can keep this object stationary. Right, these are some examples of forces. Right, these examples will be used in the next lesson. Okay. Right, firstly, the weight force of gravity and the resistance of the friction, or on water or air resistance. And then tension forces in ropes and surface tension on water, contact forces as in bulldozer that is moving, gravel, and magnetic forces between a compass needle and the Earth's field, and expansion forces of a spring which returns to its original shape, and turning forces or moment as in a screwdriver or spanner, and the upthrust force on a floating object, and finally the electrical force between charged particles. So those are some example of forces, and this will be used in our next lesson. So pilot teachers, you can provide magnets if you have magnets. Okay. You can also provide these magnets so that we can have a look at, or simply have a bowl of water and something which can float so that we can discuss something on upthrust. Or if you would like, you can bring something like this, a small ball which can be used to demonstrate the effect of gravity, or simply a stone. So that is what we'll be discussing in our next lesson. Right, any questions? Okay, good. Our keyword for today is on force. May I ask you to stand up? Right, once again, good morning, pilot teachers and students. Good morning, class. Thank you.